Okay, for the wrist curl, which is sometimes termed wrist flexion, you're going to have your palm supinated, so the palm will be facing up. I recommend that you offset the grip slightly. So grip the dumbbell more so that your thumb is pressed against the inner plate like so. Because if you hold it more in the middle, it tends to rub. Out here, it gives you more clearance. Okay? Now, you're going to place the back of your forearm on your thigh, like so, and bring the hand out sufficiently. If you're too close, sometimes it hits the knee. So have it out sufficiently. The important part is to keep your elbow down. Now, when you're doing wrist flexion or wrist curl, lean into the movement. Okay, so I'm leaning into the movement, and it looks like this. Okay, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. Okay, I'm not raising the elbow up as it comes down. You see a lot of times a tendency, keep the elbow down. Now wrist extension, rather than leaning in, wrist extension is pronated, so the palm is facing down. You're going to lean away, and this is a more effective line of pull. And then the same concept applies. You don't want to be too close because it's going to impair the range. You want to be out sufficiently, and you want full range of motion down and up. Okay? Now, you can play with this by, of course, altering the load. You can also alter the overload of the exercise. So by changing the seat height, it will alter the maximum overload. So what I mean by that is if I lower this now to here, let's say, okay? So if I lower the seat height, now the maximum overload will occur lower in the range where my palm is, or hand is parallel to the ground. And then again, if I raise the seat height, if I'm up here, it's going to occur higher in the range, okay? So that's wrist curl and reverse wrist curl. Okay, for radial and ulnar deviation, sometimes termed radial or ulnar flexion, you can use several pieces of equipment. Some people will prefer to use just a simple bar, like this body bar, okay? You can even work up to a heavier bar, like an easy curl bar. Some people will use a sledgehammer. The closer you hold the handle to the head of the sledgehammer, the lighter it becomes, and the further away, the heavier it becomes, so you can actually record how far you're going. Some people will use actually a ruler to record it, or they'll put a piece of tape of where they used it last. I prefer this implement from Iron Mind, okay, where you put the weight at the end. And radial flexion is with the arm fully extended, and you're going to flex upward in this fashion, okay? So you go down and flex up in this fashion. Ulnar is the opposite. So this is where you have the weight facing backward, and you go up and then control back down. So here we're going to show you the wrist roller exercise, all right? Now, the wrist roller exercise can be done in two ways. You can do wrist roller extension, where you're pulling back in this manner, or you can do wrist roller flexion. Also, my preference when you're doing this particular exercise is not so much for repetitions, but rather for time under tension. So I like to use a high step for this, so something like the Atlanta step platform, going as high as possible on the step. And when you're ready, you go for time. 60 seconds is a good time frame for this. So here you'll start rolling all the way up to the top, and then you would reverse all the way down until 60 seconds have elapsed. At this particular height, it usually is 2 to 3 repetitions for most people, okay? Now, for some people, having the arms extended like this puts a great strain on their shoulders, okay? And their shoulders tend to wear out before their forearms, okay? So one way you can get around that, if you have access to a cable apparatus, is you can use a low pulley, like so, and attach it to the low pulley. And now if we extend all the way out, now my arms are kept down. So it takes the stress off the shoulders while working your forearms, right? And again, you would work it for time, right? So you have the clock set for 60 seconds. Once 60 seconds has elapsed, you finish.